Welcome to Writer Wrap Up, the new, completely unscripted show about my day job. I may not make content for YouTube on a consistent basis, but I am always making content. That's because my day job is as a freelance writer for tech websites like Engadget. I write about video games and cell phones and smartphones and laptops and all sorts of junk like that, and it's pretty cool. I get to do a lot of really awesome stuff. So I thought, why not share that with YouTube? Why don't I tell you guys what I do for my normal day job? Seems like a good idea. So, welcome to Writer's Wrap Up, or Writing Wrap Up, and I'm not really sure what the name of the show is quite yet. Something like that. And every couple of weeks maybe, or once a month, or whenever I feel like it, I think I'm going to come here and tell you guys about what I'm doing at work. Because there's a lot of cool stuff I do at work. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, I was up in San Francisco checking out something called the Zelda escape room. It was a live Zelda experience where I had to solve puzzles and do quests to try and get the Master Sword. If you're not familiar with an escape room, that's sort of like a live puzzle game. You do things like crossword puzzles or math, or sometimes you have to find a key hidden in a room to accomplish a goal, usually unlocking the room you're in. The Legend of Zelda one sort of had a story based on Ocarina of Time, you know, the Nintendo 64 Zelda game, but unfortunately the game wasn't that good. If you read my article right here from Engadget, link in the description, you'll see that it sort of relied a little bit too much on paperwork and crossword puzzles, and it sort of felt like I was turning in homework. But the upshot of that Zelda escape room event is I got to play with the Nintendo Switch. If you're somehow not familiar with the Nintendo Switch, that's Nintendo's next game console, the successor to the Wii U. And I've been really excited about this for a long time. And at the end of the Zelda experience, I borrowed another journalist's pass for like 5 minutes because we didn't actually by default get access to it. But I got to play for it for a few minutes. And what makes the Switch cool, if you haven't, in fact, I don't have a graphic for that, but I have a magazine. Nintendo Force, spiritual successor to Nintendo Power right here. This is it. This is the Nintendo Switch. It's a console that looks like a tablet that you can take with you, but it's not just like a new Game Boy or DS. If you drop it into a dock that comes with it, you can play Nintendo Switch games on your TV. So it's a hybrid portable and home console, and it's really cool. The controllers feel pretty nice. Got to play it for a few minutes, and I really, really enjoyed that. But I didn't get to write about that because we already had someone else do the preview, and we have someone else writing the review for Engadget. What I did get to write about today was something I'm really excited about. I was a little bit negative. I wrote everything you didn't want to know, or everything you don't want to know about the Nintendo Switch. This is really me just sort of parsing my thoughts. I'm really excited for the Nintendo Switch, but as a journalist, I've got to be sort of objective. I've got to see the flaws in things I'm excited for and I like, and come to terms with them. And I thought, you know what? Nintendo fans are either gonna be upset that this doesn't meet their expectations, or live in denial of its flaws. And neither of those are the right way to live. So let's identify those flaws and learn to accept them. And that's kind of the idea behind this. And it just points out a couple of things I think gamers should know if they're buying the Nintendo Switch, such as it doesn't do anything out of the box. And that sounds kind of pedantic and dumb, right? Like, oh, no game console does anything out of the box, right? PlayStation 4 doesn't. You gotta buy a game. And that's normal for PlayStation and Xbox, but for the last 3 generations, for the Wii, the Wii U, and the 3DS, Nintendo's made a point of including some sort of built-in game with their consoles. AR games on the 3DS show you about its 3D camera and you know how it can make things pop out at you. A Nintendo Land showed you all the things you could do with the Wii U gamepad, and Wii Sports was Wii Sports. It was a phenomenon, and they're all fun experiences individually that came with their consoles. But the Nintendo Switch doesn't have anything like that. The Nintendo Switch, you can't do anything with it unless you buy a game. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's an expectation that you should manage. You should know that it's not going to be that way when you buy it. And so that's one of the reasons I wrote this article. Also, things that you should know: there's no backwards compatibility. Your Wii U games won't work on it. That's also something that every console since the GameCube has had backwards compatibility. You have to wait for the Virtual Console games. That's normal. Wii U launched, it didn't have Virtual Console right away. I think the same thing with the Wii, didn't have Virtual Console right away. So you're going to have to wait to play your classics on the Switch, which is kind of a bummer because, man, wouldn't it be cool to run around with this thing playing Nintendo 64, GameCube, and SNES games? Oh, it would be great. You could take that stuff anywhere. It'd have a big, beautiful screen, but no. No, you gotta have to wait for that. You gotta wait. That's all right. There's not a lot of internal storage was my third point, which is alright, but there's already one game for it that's bigger than the internal storage that comes with it. So you gotta buy a micro SD card if you want to have some real digital purchase shopping sprees with your Nintendo Switch. Wireless headphones don't work, might work later with an update. You know, lots of little tiny things like that, but I thought they were important because they, if you want to go into buying a $300 game console knowing everything. And I'm still buying it day one. I'm really excited. It's going to be here next Friday. I'm going to go crazy about it. Play Zelda forever. Breath of the Wild. But believe it or not, that's not the only two Nintendo-related things I did in February. I also got to review this thing. This is an Analogue Nt. It is the most high-end and expensive Nintendo Entertainment System you will probably ever find. This pupper, it's a puppy, costs $480. This is a slightly cheaper version for $450 with a chrome finish instead of a black one. But why would you pay almost $500 for a Nintendo Entertainment System? Well, I'll tell you. One, it's got this awesome one-piece milled aluminum chassis. On the bottom, it's got clear plastic though, so you can see the circuit board, which is pretty rad, I gotta say. It plays not only original Nintendo Entertainment System games, but Japanese Famicom cartridges as well. This is Golf. It is not very good. Has 4 controller ports for the rare game that uses 4 controllers, and that's all nice. That's not $500 nice. What's $500 nice about it is it's got a FPGA chip on here, perfectly programmed to replicate the original Nintendo, which means it's not going to fail on you. It's not going to have any flashing screen. You don't have to blow in the cartridges so much. Cartridges go in and out real easy. It's all really premium designed, works great. And that's nice. You has a complicated menu. You can make multiple colors, as you can see in the review here. I've got a picture of all the different color palettes you can use. It looks super crisp over HDMI, like pixel perfect. You can apply filters to it, but it does so much more, because if you look here on the back, there's so much going on here. Let me hold it over here. There's so much going on the back of this console. You've got power and USB, whatever, no big deal. But check this out. This is an accessory port. This means if you go to Japan and buy the Japanese light gun, you can use this weird giant serial port to use these foreign accessories. Pretty cool. If you buy a Famicom disk system and play the Japanese version of The Legend of Zelda, you'll be able to beat the little rabbit enemies in one of the later dungeons. They're called Pole's Voice. Nobody knew why they were called Pole's Voice in America, but in Japan it made sense. That was a hint because the second player controller had a microphone. You can plug a microphone into this to yell at the Pole's Voice to beat them in Legend of Zelda. So Famicom games need a microphone. Compatible with this, that's super cool. Left and right audio out. Why do you need that? Because it's also got analog audio out. So if you want to plug this into an old CRT TV and play Duck Hunt, you can do that. It does everything. There's like nothing you can play on this, can't play on this that was available on the original Nintendo. The guy that made it likes to call it a reference model NES. And you know, it kind of is. It's the most perfect NES you could buy that's not made by Nintendo itself. And honestly, I think it offers a better experience than anything Nintendo makes. I mean, Virtual Console games look worse than this. Well, everything except for maybe the NES Classic Edition. Technically, that doesn't look any worse or better, but that thing's just cool. Oh, also, it comes with the 8-Bito controller, which is a wireless NES controller that's just really rad. And so you don't need to have a long cord going to your TV. You can just use the wireless controller. I did review one other gaming product this month, and it's a little bit more normal, you know, nothing out of the ordinary. This is the Alienware 13 I reviewed for Engadget, also link in description, and it's quite a nice gaming laptop actually. I really enjoyed reviewing this and playing with it. It's a 13-inch laptop with a really, let's see if it'll turn on, a really beautiful, it you probably can't see, but this is a really, really gorgeous OLED display. I think it's half of 4K. It's not quite 4K, but it's really high resolution. Looks beautiful. And OLED screens are crazy because they have these huge vibrant colors and some of the darkest blacks that you'll see. Like here, you can barely even see the difference between where the screen edge ends and where the black of the menu is. And it's a beautiful little laptop. It's also pretty powerful. There was nothing in my game library. This couldn't happily play at high settings, but most things couldn't quite hit ultra settings without dialing down the resolution to only 1080. And that's sort of how it goes. But, you know, that's not bad for a laptop of this size. size, and has good battery life for a gaming laptop. 7 hours might not sound like a lot for your normal productivity books that you get from like your MacBook Pros or anything, but this thing, 7 hours for a gaming laptop that can play things at high settings, not bad at all. Not bad at all. One other trick it does is virtual reality, and I've been really impressed in the last 6 months how many laptops are coming out that can happily run HTC Vive and Oculus Rift games. New processors and GPUs are really impressing me there. In fact, not only is, I mean, you can get laptops that run 4K content and virtual reality these days. That's awesome. I do have 2 more virtual reality things that I've done this month. So it's been a busy month. One is I spoke to Double Fine's Tim Schafer. And if you're not familiar with Tim Schafer, he's one of the guys that worked on the early Monkey Island games, Grim Fandango, very famous game by him. When they founded Double Fine, though, he made Psychonauts, which is sort of like a cult classic platformer, and it's a good game. I only actually played it in preparation for speaking to Tim Schafer with this interview I had through Engadget, and it's a great game. But the thing I was there to talk to him about was Psychonauts, the Rhombus of Ruin. Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin, the company's first virtual reality game and the first return to the Psychonauts franchise since whenever it was released in the 2000-ish years. 2006. But anyway, it was a good VR experience. I had a great talk with Tim Schafer. Really nice, passionate guy. And one thing I really liked about that experience, if you haven't played it yet, is the whole idea of Psychonauts is you're psychic and you can enter people's mind. And in the VR game, that's what you do. You go into other people's minds. And the one takeaway I took from this, and you can find it again in my article, link in the description from Engadget, up there, is in the game, when you enter someone else's mind, you can see the world from their perspective. So if they're kind of having like a psychotic episode and seeing something not as it really is in reality, you get to see that. And so it's kind of a cool look at the psychology of other people and being in people's minds. It's a neat little visual mechanic. I did do one more notable thing this month, and it was virtual reality. But it wasn't quite as fun as everything else I did this month. This article should have gone up the same day as this video. And it's about riding a roller coaster in virtual reality. This isn't a completely new idea, but a couple of theme parks, mainly Six Flags, have made it so you can go to their park, get on a roller coaster, and put on a virtual reality blindfold, a Samsung Gear VR, and ride on a roller coaster, pulling who knows how many G's, with the overlay of a virtual world on it. And it's actually a really cool idea. Galactic Attack is the name of the roller coaster I rode, and it turns a aging 1996 mediocre roller coaster into like a fast space battle. You're like just charging through space, shooting down enemies, twisting all over the place, and it's really cool until it breaks. Six Flags, the roller coaster company that made the VR experience, and Samsung all told me that the experience I had was extremely rare. But halfway through my ride, twice, the virtual reality aspect of the ride froze in front of my face. This means I was running through space and space stopped, but my body kept moving on the roller coaster. That was nauseating, man. The problem with virtual reality is as long as it syncs up with what your brain thinks your body is doing, it can be a great experience. But when that breaks and doesn't happen, your brain knows something's wrong and it rebels and makes you feel nauseous. I didn't get sick or anything, but I felt really bad stepping off of that ride. So I talked to Samsung about it, and I talk a little bit about this in the article in Engadget, again, up here, link below in the description. But what happened is Bluetooth, wireless technology, needs to connect to your VR headset as you go through the ride and keep it synced so it knows exactly if you're turning right, the game needs to turn right in the VR headset to make sure that you don't get sick. The problem is I was sitting in the front of the roller coaster tram car, and during inversions, it turns upside down. The front goes over the corkscrew of a barrel roll kind of roller coaster thing first. And sometimes, but not always, in very specific seats on this one roller coaster that has this, multiple, I think there's 2 of them, but the one that has it in Vallejo, California, Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, the roller coaster's track can come between your headset and the box is communicating with. And if this happens, there's a chance, not a very big one, but enough that it happened to me twice, that the experience will stutter, glitch, or freeze. And that broke the VR experience, and it wasn't just a little bit lame, but it actually made me feel nauseous enough that I hope that kept recording. Oh boy. Okay. That actually made me feel nauseous enough. Jump cut because my camera broke for a second. That actually made me feel nauseous enough that when I stepped off the ride and I had a free pass to go back to the beginning of it, I didn't want to. For the whole day, I thought, you know, I should give that ride a second chance. And I probably should have, because it probably wouldn't have happened again. No one else who wrote it had the same problem I did. But I just didn't want to. It made me feel so nauseous. And so if you go to Six Flags and you see a VR coaster, ride it. But sit near the back, because in the back to the middle of the roller coaster is where the transmission box is. And you want to have a good experience, because it can be really cool if it works. But it didn't work for me. It's been a busy month in writing for Engadget, but it's not over yet. It's the 24th, the day I'm recording this, and you know, next week is the 2017 Game Developer Conference. And I'm gonna go there with a really awesome crew of guys from Engadget. Actually, most of them are ladies, but a really awesome crew of folks from Engadget, and we are going to see a lot of cool virtual reality stuff. We're gonna see some new games from Sega, and we're gonna see some technology from NVIDIA. We're gonna see some new stuff from Double Fine. We're gonna see a lot of really cool stuff this week. It's not like it's E3 or anything, but it's still big news in gaming. And plus, once it's over and I get home from GDC, my Nintendo Switch is gonna be here. So, until then, hope you all have a great week. Let me know what you think of this new rambling on about what I do at my day job thing, and catch you later. Stay charged, and happy February, everyone.